Laura Milne is owner and employment lawyer at Lime HR. Laura, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Hi. Private or public? Certainly there's more protection in the public sector, is there?
That's right. I think you're absolutely right. Within the private sector, there has always been this expectation largely that workers should simply work whatever hours are required to get the job done. But it does seem that in light of this study that expectation is now beginning to creep into the public sector, which is clearly something that needs to be monitored and reviewed. From my perspective, I wouldn't necessarily be overly concerned about someone working 1 hour a week. I think you're right. I think that could largely be a reasonable expectation of any employer, that you occasionally need to do a few minutes more at the end of an odd day to get a piece of work finished.
Yes. So, okay, but it could be the start of a slippery slope. I think
absolutely, and that's what does need to be checked and kept in check, because one of the important things to note about the public sector is that it employs a huge majority of women. 66% of the public sector workforce is female. And so if there is going to be any sort of expectation creeping in that's more than an expectation, that possibly starts to become bullying in a way, then that's very worrisome, particularly if it's a particular group of the workforce, predominantly female workforce, that start to be bullied into working longer and longer hours. Because obviously working in the public sector does have a lot of benefits. You're absolutely right. It does tend to pay more, and it does tend to give better pensions and better benefits, but it also provides for more opportunity for flexible working and part-time working, for the obvious reason for which is women generally migrate towards that type of work because they need to for childcare commitments.
Do we have, Laura, do we have a lot of poor managers in the public sector, or is it in the private sector? The most underused word in management has to be thank you. It takes so little. It isn't a sign of weakness. I mean, morale is low. The TUC, who I've just been speaking to, lovely man, Nigel Stanley. We were just talking about this very same thing. I'm sure you heard. Just thank you, just now and again.
No, absolutely right. I think sometimes people forget to say thank you and to be grateful for the work that their employees are doing. I think it's right. In the UK, people do work very hard, both in private and public sector. It's very difficult to draw a comparison who works the hardest. There's different types of working. I think an important thing to note in connection with management is that, again, it's still, I hate to make this a female issue, but it is. Predominantly managers are men, and although in the public sector you've got 66% of the workforce as women, you've only got 35% of senior level managers as women. So again, in terms of managerial aspects, if you find that women in the workplace or in the public sector are being required and expected and possibly bullied into working longer hours, you've got to think, well, is that coming from senior level management who is predominantly men?
God, I think back to some of the bosses that I've known and seen operate in the private sector, and I think, my God, there's no way they could survive anywhere.
No, I mean, I'm exactly the same. I come from private practice law firm working in the city, and I've worked for some horrendous employers in my time. And I completely relate to what you say when you say, we've worked hard, you work these long hours, you put up with ridiculous managerial styles. But just because one group of workers are treated badly, it doesn't then justify another group of workers to start to be treated equally as badly. Clearly, it's an issue for all workers, regardless of whether they work in the public sector or the private. Yeah.
Laura, good talking to you. Thank you very much indeed. You're talking about the development of a culture there, aren't you? One manager leading to another, and sort of a culture of fear and everything else. So is that the situation that's developing in the public sector? If it is, then as a first step, that has to absolutely be stamped on, doesn't it?